HiSec BuyBack offers 90% JITA anywhere in HiSec. Simply go to hisec.evebuyback.com, appraise your items, create a contract, and get paid quickly.
Hello, and welcome to Talking in Stations, a podcast about EVE Online. It is Sunday, the 22nd of August, and here with me today is a couple of friends, and we're going to have some great content coming to you. So with me today is Sutonia.
Hey, how is everyone?
HateLess.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Richman.
Good afternoon.
You're looking dapper, Rich. Shen.
Hello.
And Artemis is in the background engineering. So, HateLess, we're not ready just yet, are we?
We got not quite. Yeah, we got a few minutes. We're not on a time frame or anything. We can undock when the things are on. The fleet's gonna roll in the background, and we can just join them when the show is ready for it.
Perfect. Cool. So, let's just kick off with some of the week report here. I'll share my screen for you, Artemis. So, what do we have happened this week? Well, if you haven't noticed already, you might want to log in because we have a bonus skill point weekend. So, 3 days across the last 3 days. You log in for 3 days. The first day, you get some skill points. The second day, you get some hard shell boosters. Third day, you're getting more skill points, up to 50,000 skill points. So, like, that's pretty handy, I think. You guys been collecting your skill points?
Yep.
Yeah, I always log in. Unfortunately, this event is only, I think, there's 3 days of awards, and it only runs for 3 days. So if you haven't logged in every day, then you can't get the final award. But if you haven't logged in, you can still log in now today and get like 15,000 skill points, I think, for the first Alpha plus Omega award. So there's still time to get something.
Yeah, it's nice. I think that they gave some skill points to the Alpha clones as well. And like 50,000 skill points. You know, I don't know what time frame that is, but what is that? Is that like a day, an extra day training, I think?
Yeah, something like that. It's actually 2 days, isn't it? It's 2 or 3 days. Or 2 or 4 days. I've done the math, but it's either 2 or 4 days, which is pretty nifty.
Yeah, absolutely. So what else we had today then, or this week actually was, I noticed this 10% off packs. So like these new packs that are tied into like the whole EVE Academy. So you have like your Soldier of Fortune pack. I guess that's aimed towards like ratters or PvE, PvP players. Enforcer pack as well. So like there's just like little discounts on some of these packs. Generally, I think like the cost of the pack is roughly worth the PLEX time. So that Soldier of Fortune pack is 40 Great British pounds, or kind of €50, $50. It's 60 days of Omega plus 500 Plex for like another 30 days of Omega. So yeah, like that's 90 days of Omega. That's roughly about the cost. So like you get a few extra skins thrown in on top of it. And then like really bottom of the barrel there, like I kind of like this one, this starter pack. It kind of reminds me of like the expert systems. 7 days of Omega training time for like less than £10, or even £5, or like $6 and a bit or euro. I think it'd be nice for like a new player to try and get involved and try out a ship for a week. Also, actually, this week that was announced was the update to the EVE Anywhere. So we saw this announced a couple of weeks ago. This is the like play in the browser, play it on any device, EVE Online client. So before, when it was announced, it was like a beta test and it was only for the United States. And now they have expanded it to, I guess, Central European countries. So there's a list of countries there if you're in Europe now, or I guess if you have a VPN that can VPN at one of these IP addresses, you'll be able to try out the EVE Anywhere. It does require Omega, so you need to be Omega subscription. But yeah, there's been lots of good feedback. Have any of you used it personally?
I tried it out yesterday. It's kind of fun, kind of cool that you can just log into either anywhere now. I can see it being super useful if you're at work or on the move. I think with something like a library or sorry, like a work laptop or something where you don't necessarily want to download like the full EVE client onto it.
You didn't try to PvP in that, did you?
No, I logged into and like undocked, and it was it wasn't as smooth as I'd hoped for like PvP, but it's definitely workable for doing like I'd say like mining, probably PvE if you're doing like drone ratting stuff, and it's definitely fine for just chatting with people and using the market.
Yeah, this I have to try it out myself, but I actually really like that whole like I'm away, I'm on holidays, or like I'm away from work, and you need to like log in and I don't know, pay a solve bill or something.
I feel like this is great for a lot of industrialists who just want to, let's say, submit their jobs and then basically we're putting more jobs into the production center. Let's say if you're on vacation for like 2 weeks and your thing is due in 7 days, you can midway through, you can just pull up your client and then just repeat or adding new jobs.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point as well. I mean, I guess if you're like resetting PI or putting in industry jobs, definitely like non-PvP activities, you'll have no problem running this client. I'd just also like to welcome General Stargazer. How you doing, buddy?
Absolutely fantastic. Yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. You are here to talk to us in a little bit soon about the Alliance tournament and the... What was the name of the tournament that was happening this weekend as well?
It has a temporary name at the moment of just the summer tournament for now. But we're hoping probably to next year when we make it a little bit larger, or the hope that is that it's made a little larger, that it gets a more formalized name.
Yeah, brilliant. So we're just talking about the EVE Anywhere expansion to new countries there. Probably won't be running too many tournaments from within the EVE Anywhere client just yet, but maybe in a few years.
One can hope. One can certainly hope.
So yeah, that was the update to EVE Anywhere. So if you're from these countries now, you can log in and play remotely from the browser, mobile phone device, laptop, computer. I think even an iPad and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. Go on.
Oh, okay. Well, that means it would. Well, oh god, there's kids at my door. That would mean, technically speaking, for the people who might be missing days in this weekend skill point giveaway, they can log in using this.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me, I have to run to deal with these kids.
Okay, so while Rich runs and deals with that problem, also what happened this week, the MER report for July came out, so there was some initial discussion, I think, on one of the midweek shows about this. But yeah, really interesting to see like the blue loot situation. Let me see if I can find this graph here.
Yeah, what was interesting too was the ISK that was generated from the Log Game Award, where we put the 230 million or whatever it was. I think it was something like 220, 230, somewhere around there, right?
Yeah, 235 if you got it all on an Omega, yeah. So this is the faucets. So ISK entering the game, and we can see obviously sleeper or blue loot, the items you get from a wormhole that you sell, still like one of the highest faucets in the game, but it has definitely come down from its high of where it was a couple of weeks ago. I wonder, is this maybe tied into the war? Now that Great War has kind of gone away, we have more people going back to like setting up their homelands, working on ADM defenses and farming their home instead of not being able to farm their home because it's a war. Maybe this is just related to the summer dip. Often less people playing during summertime. We'll definitely have to have a show this week on the Mer. And then also what I actually really liked was this Fleet Up in Real Life post that came out. And there was also a couple of events this week. I believe some people are at an event last weekend. There was one in the
Even
UK,
T
right?
Nottingham. Yeah, those Even T Nottingham. That was super fun. That was last Saturday.
Yeah, and I managed to bring all my fanny packs and bum bags and shot glasses and pins and lanyards, which the CCP were kind enough to pass out. But it was quite an entertaining thing, seeing everybody's reaction when I was passing out bum bags, for sure.
Yeah, so there's definitely been meetups as well happening in various parts of the United States.
Yeah, Eve Nora, I think it was called.
Yeah. So I just go on.
I was gonna say I think Vienna was just happening as well.
Yeah, it's amazing to have all these events now after like almost 2 years of no events.
I was saying during the event, actually, it was kind of funny to me because I realized on the drive on the way up there, it was I got into the car and I realized that it's been like 3 years since I actually sat down and even had a beer with friends, let alone even seeing other Eve players again. But it was very nice to be able to do that again.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, we saw some pictures of the Eve Nottingham event. Looked like a great time. So, I think kind of the big Eve Online news this week is actually the Alliance tournament. We have a few people here to talk to us today about the Alliance tournament, one of them being General Stargazer and Sutonia as well, right? So on the side of the Alliance tournament, so not the tournament that was happening this weekend, which is, say, the Summer Games, right? So we had the feeder bracket stream this week on CCP TV. So what I loved about this announcement was when they initially set out to have this AT, they were thinking, okay, we might get like 32 teams. And they ended up having 75 teams now confirmed for this competition. So like, I think as I saw, it was like the second highest amount of teams submitting into the competition ever.
Yeah, I think there was 90 something for AT 14 or 15. I can't remember which one. There was a feed around for AT 15. I'm not sure if that was the biggest one, or in AT 14, I think a lot of teams got cut.
Yeah, so they initially had 74 teams, and then they actually ended up finding one more, I guess, filled in submission somewhere around the back of the couch. So they said, we have 74. What's one more? We'll make it 75.
I believe on that one, it was they submitted the PLEX correctly, and it was just a case of there was a typo on the actual administration form, which initially made them ineligible, but then it was corrected, so they just brought it up to the 75.
Yeah, I mean, what's one more at this point, right?
Exactly.
So,
sorry, I heard a lot of doubting and I guess maybe discontent over the fact the Alliance tournament is back, and people said, "Oh, it's only a small selected group," but 75 teams. How does anybody know how many actual people there are per team? It's not just 10; it's other people inside too.
Well, when you're preparing because a lot of the practicing is going to be going on Thunderdome, per team there's between 20 and 30 accounts prepared, so each team is relatively large in its selection of options, and then not to mention the fact you also have mercenaries now available as well.
Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of like go over the format of it. So the main Alliance tournament competition is going to have 40 teams. We currently have 75. So how do we get there? We have a couple of teams that are automatic entry teams. So these are teams that have performed historically very well in the Alliance Open and the Anger Games. So they have been basically given and granted automatic entry into the competition. We had a blind auction. So in this case, every team submitted an amount of PLEX, and like the highest 18 got submitted and accepted into the competition. At any point, General Stargazer, correct me if I'm wrong here.
You're good so far?
So this, I think, is amazing. Over 618,000 PLEX was raised for the blind auction buy-in. That's over 25,000 US dollars in PLEX alone. And one team submitted 49,000 PLEX to secure entry into the competition. I mean, that's a mind-bogglingly large amount of money, you know, and just PLEX for this competition. I think that kind of ties into what you said, Rich, about like people not realizing how big this is and how much people care about this and how important this is to some people.
I thought the other interesting thing about it as well, the minimum accepted bid on it was 12,500 PLEX as well. So it's still quite high even at the lowest level.
This is the first Alliance tournament in how many years? I can only imagine how excited people are for it.
I think it's 2 years.
I think, yeah, it's 2/3 years, I think, since the last one.
Yeah, the last one was in 8016 in at the end of 2018.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, you're right. 3 years. Oh my god, like COVID just kind of screws up the time frame in the memory.
Yeah.
What
like
is
anything from like 2019 to 2020 just feels like 2021 just feels like 1 year instead of 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even discounting the 5 years worth of PLEX to people bid, 5 years worth of Omega people have bid in. Is it right? 5 years? I could be wrong. But even discounting all that amount of PLEX that they've bid into the system, each team has well over 10 people. So this, if it's 75 teams, we're looking at, well, times 10, that's 750 people minimum, plus all the people they'll be scrimming with, plus the mercenaries. This is well over 1,500 players, potentially, involved in this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 10 is an absolute minimum. You'd probably have at least 20. So what we have here is like 24 confirmed teams, okay? Already bought in. All these teams here we see Goonswarm, Federation, Hydra Reloaded, Localist Primary, Templist Calfs, the Tuskers Co., We Form Volta. They're a lock. All these other silent auction teams, they're a lock and they're going to be taking part. But we have 51 other teams that we now need to fight for 16 slots. So CCP did the draw, gave everyone a ranking, and now we have like a bracket drawn up for the teams taking part. So let me just scroll down here and get it. Here we go. So these are like the feeder brackets. This is going to be taking part the 4th and the 5th of September. So what's that? That's like 2 weeks away.
Yeah, so we have one more weekend of the summer tournament, obviously this weekend and then next weekend, and then it's straight into the Alliance tournament feeder rounds. So we have certainly entered the season of the tournaments.
Yeah, so on this round 1, this will be the first day, so this will be on the 4th. So like these teams will fight off against each other, and then the winner of, say, the Initiative versus Psychotic Tendencies will fight on the second day, the Sunday, against the Celestial Empire, and then the winner of that will like end up going on into the competition. So on that post that CCP put out, we have like the full seeder bracket here, and then the seeded main brackets, and then you'll see here, so like after the feeder competition in round 1, those winners will move over, and then here in round 2, this is the actual competition itself, which is taking place in November. So I think it's really cool. We get this like little preview coming in 2 weeks time. Get to watch the feeder rounds, and then we have kind of like 3 months before the actual main competition, 2.5 months.
Yeah, we'll probably see some open practices on Thunderdome. We'll no doubt probably arrange for a couple of open practices to be streamed between now and then to keep the interest certainly rolling for it.
Yeah, so just some key dates there is like the roster lock and the Thunderdome access, that's going to be coming tomorrow or the next day. This is where the teams will get access to that Thunderdome server where they'll practice, and that's where the feeder competition is held, isn't it?
It is indeed.
So what's so special about the Thunderdome then compared to Tranquility or CC?
So Thunderdome, we have it's basically another like sandbox server, but it's a little bit more of a controlled server. You have to be given an account to log into there. Essentially, the server is constantly running in VIP mode, so people are given systems essentially that they can do their practices and their scrims in. All the characters on there are max rank. You can be given any item that you want, so you can practice with whatever comps that you want to actually fly with without revealing any information. So it keeps it all nice and quiet for people that do want to practice. And it's just a very, very controlled environment for us to be able to run the scrims in. The tournament tools itself, again, the last couple of weeks we've been practicing and making sure that everything that we specified in the rules is legal, is making sure that the tool itself is actually detecting that people aren't bringing suspicious stuff. So we get the opportunity, at least during the feeders as well, that should we have missed anything, that we have that opportunity to fix it before we end up back on Tranquility for the main tournament.
On the topic of the tournament, I did see there was a casting call for the commentators, and I understand that people who have gotten positions have, gotten response. How fierce was the competition for this?
It's actually still ongoing. We have more interviews lined up today and into next week. We've had quite a few. We had quite a few applicants for it, but we've done our first initial wave of saying thank you very much for applications. But we're doing one-on-one interviews with a lot of people at the moment. Following that, we will probably whittle down the number a little bit more again. We may potentially ask some of them to come in and do some of the feeder tournaments, just so that we can, because it's a lot of one-on-one, we want to see how people work as a team. So sometimes we'll bring them in on the feeders and we'll just talk to them and get them to commentate alongside someone just to see how they work as part of a team. So that is still ongoing. We'll probably get the next wave, probably in the middle of next week. We'll probably give the next wave of people, just letting them know if we're proceeding with them or if they were unfortunate and are able to proceed. I
noticed Jintan returned from his break from Eve to join in on the tournament. So I understand Bart is also, Black Bart Pirate is also involved. What's the number of applicants did you receive for this?
I think off the top of my head, without pulling up the document, I think it was 22 applicants in general that applied. And I think we managed to whittle that number down to 13 further interviews. And as I say, again, it will be for 3/4 caster positions, and then there will also be analyst positions as well. But yeah, we've got to whittle that number down a lot further. So it gets a little intense for figuring out whether someone's going to make it or not.
Spicy. Mm-hmm. A lot of returning people coming back, or is it some new faces this time?
We've had actually quite a bit of a mix. We've had some familiar faces from the past, some solid commentary from people that we have had cast tournaments in the past, whether it be live or as part of alliance tournaments in the past. We had a good bunch of new applicants as well. Again, some of those due for interviews next week. So we might see some fresh blood. We might see some old existing. We'll do. There's a group of us that are doing the interviews, so we kind of almost like have a ranking system where we'll give them a series of things to comment on. So whether it be games, existing matches, and we'll get them to do the commentary, and we'll rate them during the interview, and then we make a decision between the three of us. We kind of score them out. And then by the end of it, we'll sit down, re-review it, and see who we want to proceed with.
So that's kind of talking about the casting process for the Alliance tournament that's coming up. But what happened this weekend? So just so we don't confuse any listeners, the Alliance tournament feeder round is in 2 weeks, and then the main tournament is in November. But we had the summer games this weekend.
Yeah, the summer tournament. Excuse me. The summer tournament was a community Chinese, call it an Oceanic time zone organized tournament. We had a bunch of us existing, commentators or anyone else that just wanted to come along. It was very relaxed, very social. Anyone that just wanted to come along could come and commentate on some of the games. But yeah, we were just doing our part to cover the event, and it was actually really good. There was some really interesting plays, some really entertaining plays. So a few unexpected events happened. We had a couple of industrials, which always amuse me whenever I see them in tournaments, especially when they retain a 100% win rate whenever they're deployed. But yeah, we had a couple of, as I say, previous commentators come on and do their part. We all sat in a channel together, and it went quite smoothly.
What about those names, huh? Those tournament team names and the player names too.
I absolutely loved them. Some of them were fantastic. Like, what was it? When to delete Marauder, Invasion,
Nightmare Skating, something.
Yeah, there were some absolutely fantastic games. Like, as we were going through, I made the comment a couple of times that I wish some of the Alliance tournament teams had taken note from the Chinese tournament names, because they were absolutely fantastic. I loved them.
Oh, I love the Chinese Players' Eve names and their tournament team names, because it just, to us, it doesn't make that much sense, but to them, there's something about it that probably makes complete sense, but we're just missing the context because of the translation.
Yeah, we joked about it a couple of times during the chat during the whole tournament, that we kind of made up backstories for some of them as well, because we just didn't know the context. We had a lovely lady, Dark, come on to the show yesterday, contextualized a few of them for us, which amused us all to no end. We learned quite a few things, like apparently, as Sutonia mentioned, I think nightmare skating was one of them, and skating was apparently a Chinese slang for drug takers, which always amused me. So yeah, it was good.
Well, my Chinese is a bit choppy now, but I still remember what GG means, so long GGs.
Yeah,
it means big dicks, basically.
A great tournament team name. I mean, we had, what is it? Wang's Out is one of the famous ones of the past.
Oh god.
Pen is Out Alliance team.
Pen is Out. Yep.
Yeah.
How did their tactics fare compared to the Alliance tournament teams and tactics we're used to?
I mean, for my part that I watched, I'll let Sutonia comment on this one as well, but I think there was parts of it that really did entertain me. One of the games yesterday I thought was very interesting to watch, because it was the team had basically the whole fight had moved right to the edge of the arena, to such an extent that when some of the enemy team had actually started to orbit the people that were sitting on the edge of the arena, they were actually boundarying themselves. So they weren't paying enough attention and realized that they were just literally just flying out the arena and destroying themselves. So there is a very interesting kind of skill element that was involved. And I loved some of the just the general comps. Like, some of the comps were unexpected, but some of them, it became a little bit more predictable towards the end. Like Barghasts, for example, became the most commonly banned ship throughout the entire thing so far. But then consequently, Nighthawks have become the most constantly fielded ship. So, as I say, it was some interesting aspects. But I'd love to hear what Sutonia thinks as well.
Yeah, it was an interesting mix, right? There were a lot of things that we kind of expected from the Alliance Open, like the triple Nighthawk teams that are kind of traditional, like the Barghast teams were kind of expected too. But there's also just some weird stuff as well, like Marauder teams, like the triple Paladin team. Those were really fun to watch.
How about that broadsword, huh?
Triple broadsword rush versus the Paladin team was pretty amusing.
What makes a ship good? Well, at least in the context of a tournament setting.
Well, it can depend on multiple things, right? The first factor in the AT, at least, is that every ship has a point value. So even though a Cerberus is always going to be better than a Caracal on TQ in almost every case, the Caracal costs less points on in the tournament. So it might not be always the best choice to bring a Cerberus over a Caracal, because picking that Cerberus is going to mean that you have to pick weaker ships alongside it.
Great answer and great question, Rich. If you're not busy on the phone there, Sutonia, I'd love to know, like, do you have a hand in designing the composition?
No, this wasn't me at all. I'm pretty sure this is all. I don't know about the summer tournament points. I think they're based off the Alliance Open and the AT17 rule set. The Alliance Open rule set was, I think, mostly made by BRJ, but General probably knows a lot more than me. I'm sure maybe he knows a bit more.
Yeah, as you quite rightly said, at least the Summer Games one was primarily the Alliance Open points, but there is a few tweaks for the Alliance tournament rules. It was primarily the same, with the exception of a few of the points, a couple of the comps that were brought in during the summer tournament games. You can't actually fly during the Alliance tournament because the ship point values were just varied just enough that essentially you couldn't fly what you were seeing during the summer tournament games. The rule set primarily was it was primarily CCP and Bay for the most part, figuring out essentially what we wanted to be the sponsor for this year's tournament. Was kind of discussed a couple of times, but for the most part, yes, it was between Bay and CCP for figuring out the exact rules. The format for the Alliance tournament has remained primarily the same across the years. There's just been lots of little tweaks here and there that's just enough to make it different from the previous years. Not to mention, like, the sponsor for the Alliance tournament, the NPC sponsor is usually the one that has their cheap point ships, which kind of mix up the meta completely.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be some evolution of the rules, otherwise we'd probably still be on like Tinker setups or something from years ago, right?
Exactly. Like, it's as much as it's about winning and losing, it's also trying to put on an entertaining show. If it's boring to watch, perhaps it requires a bit of a rule change just to make it a little bit more engaging. Not to mention, there's always there was setups in the past where people would literally just sit and wait to be attacked. I mean, it's a completely legitimate tactic, but we want to try and bring a little bit of action and enjoyment for people watching as well as people playing.
Yeah, we don't want the 1DQ1 tunnel comps, right?
Oh.
How has the meta shifted? Because we've had the mixed reception updates with Surgical Strike and the Brawler's Paradise and these type of things. How has it changed the meta since 2018 when those updates weren't existent?
Do you want to do that one, Sutonia?
Sure, right. So the Alliance Open, we saw a lot more like rush-based teams, especially the most successful comp we saw was like a team that had like triple Nighthawk, double Loki, and because of the damage bonus to heavy assault missile launchers, some Surgical Strike with Tech 2 Rage missiles getting a huge damage bonus, as well as the Nighthawk as well getting a pretty significant balance pass, I think earlier in 2020. That's mostly been like the main comp. A lot more like damage heavy comps have been more viable, and we've seen a lot less comps that rely on like a single logistics cruiser. So we saw a lot less like teams that had a Guardian or a Scimitar or something.
Yeah, I mean, like
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, quite rightly, as you say, like even simple things like the resistances that were done, was it last year or towards the end of the year before? I mean, it's been so long since we've had a tournament that just without even changing the rules, just the general overhaul on the game, nerfs and rebalances, it's just going to provide a very interesting format.
So, that's actually very true. The fact that changes that happen on like Tranquility are carried over to the Alliance tournament, say the next year, and in this case it's been 3 years, so there's been kind of like 3 years of changes. And as well with like the Marauder changes recently, Surgical Strike not that long ago, I think like I'm really interested in seeing the feeder competition and like what ship comps come up. But the Alliance tournament special edition ships that are given out as rewards, right? So I don't know, pick any of them for instance. They don't evolve, if I'm correct, right?
They're not actually. You're not actually able to bring them into the Alliance tournament, if that's what you mean. But they haven't.
Oh, sugar.
They haven't. They haven't like changed the stats on them generally. Sometimes they do get a few balance passes on them when like CCP changes other ships. Like for example, when CCP put the assault damage control in the game, the prior ship assault frigates and heavy assault cruisers were able to use the assault damage control, but they haven't changed any of the stats directly. And one of the things CCP Aurora has, one of the plans CCP Aurora has made to make sure that the Alliance tournament is something that CCP can commit to and hopefully bring back on a yearly basis, even if she doesn't get internal support from CCP, is by re-releasing some of the old prize ships. And I think as part of that, what would probably happen is CCP would maybe go back and do a balance pass on those old prize ships, because, you know, anything from like 88 to like 13, well 10 at least are you know, they're generally not in the most viable state, I'd say, with like the Mima being the best example, being literally worse than the Munin.
The other thing,
receive a ton of pushback.
I think it was pretty mixed, because I mean, I was going to say one of the other details that was mentioned was the fact that yes, there'll be the return of those ships, but it will also be a minimum. It has to be out for a minimum of 10 years before that ship is then reintroduced. So it's not like the ships you got in Alliance Tournament 15 are going to be back, you know, for the next Alliance Tournament.
So I'm not sure how sure this is to happen, but I wouldn't like to see them rebalance those old ships. I would like to see them continue to put new ships in, or reiterations of the ship, and keep the old ships the way they are, simply because they're novel and what they represent is really neat. I would feel like it's a shame to devalue the novelty of that, especially with the fact that, I mean, like 10, 15-year-old ships. Why should we rebalance them rather than say, you know, release another ship that is similar but not quite the same?
Well, one of the things that CCP actually said in the blog is that ideally, if they do re-release ships, then what they could do is they would put out like a different type of ship, and they would rename the original one. So if you have a Mima and then CCP does a re-release of the Mima, which would be the next one coming up, then your original Mima would get renamed to like first edition Mima or something. So you could say, you know, this is the first edition.
Well, like in Team Fortress 2 with the vintage Mima.
Yeah, it could be a vintage Mima or whatever it is. I think rebalancing them is also one of the things that actually makes it better for people who already own the ships, because like I think there are a lot of people who, if you're holding onto a Mima, if CCP actually rebalances it and makes it good, then you can actually use it, or, you know, there's more incentive for you to take it out, and that also increases the value of it. Like if the Mima was like really as good as a Maraca, for example, then the Mima would probably double in price.
Just,
I mean,
yeah,
the
that's
price
just
of
my.
those 80 ships is not really depends on their ability. To some degree it is, but it's just rare in general, I think.
Yeah, I think if CCP compensates them, you know, give them vintage Mimas, you know, maybe another thing would be like anyone who has an old AT ship, maybe you get one of this, you know, the tournament skins for free. So if they did the Mima thing, maybe they did like a Mimitar Victory Edition skin or something for all of the like fleet issue Mimitar ships. Maybe you could just, every Mima you have, you just get one of those skins for free, so that at least you get something. I think that would be pretty cool. CCP Convict actually, I think, or CCP Swift, I can't remember, one of the two mentioned this on the I think it was CCP Swift on the Less Than 10 podcast. But apparently, like the average login for like the last Mima was something like over 2 years. Like all of all of the accounts that aren't banned, and like over half of the Mimas in the game are on banned accounts, for example. So there isn't really many of them, and the ones that still exist, the average login date for like all of the characters that own them is 2 years. So like I think like half the owners probably haven't logged in like a decade.
Sorry, we floated the idea earlier to CCP Aurora amusingly during the summer tournaments stream of Hawaiian shirts should be rewards for tournaments. You could have like, you know, silhouettes of Eve ships on some of the shirts.
Yeah, that'd be super cool, especially for the summer tournament. That would be like a really dank reward.
Hell yeah.
I think at this point, someone should just go get them printed up themselves if they win.
Yeah, hand them out of the new Even team, man. They should make an in-game shirt, you know, for the like for your character, and then also like sell the shirt on the Eve store.
Oh, that would be amazing. You could have matchers. But yeah, I like that idea.
I'm not sure if I want a bald man on my chest.
I don't get it. What, a bald man?
Bald man. I mean, my Richman in game is bald. I'm thick with a nice head of hair. I'm not sure if I want a bald man like him on a shirt on my chest.
No, I meant a shirt of the ship silhouette.
Oh.
And you could have that on your in-game character and on your person. On your real life human.
Doesn't say a Balgorn look rather...
I mean, if you want a shirt full of Florexes, you can have a shirt full of Florexes.
I think I'd get a purifier. I like that silhouette.
Oh yeah, I guess you like yours small, huh?
Oof.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, that sorry.
I think HateLess cat is hungry.
Is it time to feed the cat?
Yeah, it's around then.
that Summer Games tournament it's still up on the EVNT Twitch. So if you like missed it this weekend and you want to like go back and check it out, watch some of the fights, maybe listen to some of the amazing sexy voiced commentators, feel free to like click on the EVNT. I have a link there in the weekend report if you want to drop it in the Discord.
Yeah, the tournament's still ongoing too, and I think it's going to be covered again by EVNT next weekend. So if you're still hungry for tournaments, definitely check it out.
I thought earlier on today was the last day.
Oh, this was just this was like a round robin part of the tournament, just so teams would get seeded into the main tournament, and some teams would get eliminated. And so the actual tournament is single elimination, and that's going to be next weekend.
Oh, great! Do we have a date and time for that?
I believe, without double checking, that it is exactly the same time as it was today, which was 12:30 Eve time. It's quite early in the day, but then, you know, as I say, it is a Oceanic time zone tournament. I will double check that while we continue.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay to disrupt our sleep schedule because it is, again, a competition for them in their time zone.
Hey, we had one of the commentators joined at 5:30 in the morning because he just loves tournaments.
Also,
yeah, Black Bart Pirate is from the West Coast US, so like 12:30 Eve time is, you know, like 5 a.m. for him.
Oh yeah, I heard he alarm clocked and dumped a bunch of pre-workout into his veins.
That'll get you going.
I think as well, like it might be a little bit late now, but like if you applied to the like EVE Alliance tournament as a commentator or to be a caster, you know, keep an eye out for these other smaller tournaments that are happening, because it'd be a great way to, you know, brush up on your skills and get some more experience and just get a bit more practice and recognition. Because like I really sorry, I think the AT is kind of back to stay, and I hope it is.
Yeah, like EVNT is almost always recruiting casters. The deadline for the casters for the Alliance Summit has already passed, unfortunately. But there are teams scrimming, so you could definitely you know, maybe get like one or two guys and do that. EVNT normally does like a tournament about once a year, roughly. So, and we tend to, you know, invite just about anyone on normally. So even if you have no experience, if you talk to like Bayard J or General or something, normally they can get you in on, you know, like one or two matches to see how you do. And if you like it, you can, you know, come back. And eventually, if you just do it for a year, then who knows, maybe you could be in for an AT18.
Absolutely, hit me up if you are interested, and we can see if we can get you in on a couple of the feeder games.
I would like to get in on that. I sent you a DM, but
Gotcha.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, look, there we go. That's all it takes, guys. You know, if you're actually interested in doing this stuff, just everyone in the EVE community is generally really helpful and inviting, even though we're mostly pirates and have a bad reputation for blowing up spaceships.
Yeah, there's also a ton of other community tournaments that normally take place too. Like the this summer tournament will probably take place again next year. There's also the Anger Games. I'm not sure if they're going to do a new one next year or not. But there's been 3 Anger Games, so I'd hope they bring back like Anger Games 4.
Yeah, I think it was very important to be able to have that outlet while like COVID was happening and people needed a distraction, and it's also, I think, the tournaments are quite important to show off and showcase EVE.
I think I said it a couple of times. I think one of the most entertaining things I read was after the Anger Games, we had an individual that dropped into the Discord and said once the tournament was finished, was that it? Was there no more PvP happening at weekends that was streamed? Because they were really just enjoying seeing tournament games broadcast over the weekends. I am hoping that we get to see just more and more tournaments each year.
Yeah, I always attribute actually, like, I was playing a few months and then a friend turned me on to the Alliance tournament and I was like really new in the game. I probably barely had like Warp Scramblers trained, and it just blew my mind to see the possibilities of what a ship could do and the tournament layout. It was really cool. I was like, this is amazing. I don't understand anything. I barely understand these ship names, but it's fascinating to watch.
Well, that's one of the things that, again, that's always entertained me about the Alliance tournament is, as much as, you know, people talk about it being, you know, these super high-skilled veteran players with huge amounts of skill points, at the end of the day, every game has some degree of tackle requirement required during the games, and you know, you don't have to be that player with absolutely colossal amounts of skill points to actually participate or even do incredibly well. You know, if you are good at doing your one job in EVE, you don't have to have that huge amount of skill points to actually do it. So seeing new people end up watching the streams and thinking, yeah, that could be me, is a very warming thing.
Yeah, it doesn't take much points to be in like a Logi frigate or an E-War frigate. As you said, tackle or even smaller ships.
I mean, heck, today, as I say, yesterday and today we had two industrials fielded, and as I say, the thing that amused me most was the fact there was 100% win rate every time it was deployed, and it just entertained me to no end. Just to think that you participated in a broadcast tournament in an industrial. Why not?
Well, prior to this tournament, we had a break between the end of 2018, so 2019 had no tournament, 2020 had no tournament. Now we have a tournament. These 2 years breaks, there were some smaller unofficial tournaments in between, but because of this break, has the attention and the excitement for the tournament, is it the same or is it less, more?
I think there's certainly excitement returned for like the big, because like the Alliance tournament was the big tournament that people would look forward to each year, and I think people have a habit of harassing Bay until such time as he decides to run a tournament, and then we end up having with lots of small little tournaments, and I think it just keeps the interest for the people that primarily play EVE for that little tournament scene. It keeps them interested in returning, and we, as I say, we as a whole try to broadcast as many of them because we know that they're super popular. They're just great showcasts for individual skills and team play in EVE. Unfortunately, we now have a community team that helps, support that, obviously with access to Thunderdome and the tools that actually make the tournament functional. So I think that constant desire for those small tournaments keeps even CCP involved with just keeping tournaments going, basically.
These 2 years haven't dulled any. Well, these 2 years haven't dulled how much hype people have for these tournaments.
I don't think so, personally. I think there has been new people that have come to it and excited to see it, and I think people of the past have returned to it again. I think, CCP Swift even did an announcement not too long ago saying a couple of the people that were like permanently banned from some of the Alliance tournaments again have had their bans lifted so that they can return to play, because people have moved on. Some people have moved on, but some alliances have still, remained. Just the change of leadership, the change of players, but that desire to always have tournaments, I think, has always been there. Doing the summer games this weekend has just made me even more excited to see and get involved again with the actual main alliance tournament. I am super duper excited for it.
Well, with 75 teams up and competing, I think. Well, it's a
Gonna be a lot of work.
grand return. The heroes welcome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think it's like hit the ground running. It's come back in spades, and I think a lot of people are really excited. I mean, look, they thought they wouldn't even get 32 teams. They got 75. They had to like up the main bracket by 8. I mean, I just think that speaks volumes for the level of enthusiasm.
A lot of us was super happy to see. It was so unexpected to see that sort of volume of people. We kind of got updates from CCP as people were chucking in submissions, and the number just kept going and going and going. We're like, okay, it's absolutely great to see.
That's fantastic. So, General Stargazer, thank you so much for coming on and like talking some AT stuff with us. Love to have you back. Maybe after the feed around weekend, we can like have an update on some of the fights and the competitions that have taken place, some of the teams and what's going on. HateLess, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. Everything kind of came together just in time, which was nice. I'm doing. Do you want me to just kind of kick into it and what I've got for you guys today?
Yeah. So you're more than welcome to lead this section if you'd like. We purposely kind of left it a bit vague because, well, you'll find out why.
So I'm going to start with the clickbait. I have been able to pay New Eden pilots for their efforts over 80 billion ISK on average for the last, or 80 billion ISK per month on average for the last 2.5 months. That's the clickbait. That's the big, we're making ISK, people are getting paid. What we're doing is we're hunting Triglavians and HiSec. So we're on the HiSec side. And we are able to accept brand new pilots into this and give basically players a very easy, simple way to hop in the game, start making initial bits of ISK, and kind of get started, if that makes sense. The average payout per pilot is about 40 million ISK an hour, and full SRP is offered, and we figured out how to, I don't know how to put it, but we figured out a way to have people just be able to join pretty much at will. You can come in and go at any time. But yeah, sorry, anyways.
How new are these players?
So I believe one of you guys made an alt yesterday and skilled it and is in fleet functioning right now.
I created a new account this morning, a couple of hours ago. I got 1 million skill points off the referral link, and I'm in fleet doing it. So like 1 million skill points training on an alpha, even if you didn't have a referral link, is not that long. I mean,
how much money do you need to get into it? Because, well, the way I made most of my money, to get into it, you need to spend at least a few billion on a Leshak and train into it. You've got a 1 million SP fresh account, I'm guessing an alpha.
So for the most part, if somebody says, hey, I'm brand new and I'm here to try, I'll just hand you a Naga. We have plenty to hand out. And generally you give it back at the end of the fleet. So it just kind of depends on the situation and how you approach it. If you're kind of mean, I'm not going to be too keen to just give you a freebie. But if you come into like Twitch chat, say, hey, you know what, I want to join you, I don't have the money to buy a Naga, you'll probably get a Naga. But the ship itself is only like 110, 120 million ISK. So it's not even expensive, and you generally earn it back participating in about half a fleet. So super low, like we're trying to keep the barrier of entry low, so that as many people can join as possible. If that makes sense. But yeah, the beginning of it, it's 120 or 130 million ISK, and it pays out 40 million ISK an hour. That's 3 or 4 hours. It pays for itself.
How long does this run for?
It depends on the FCs that are available, but we can run it indefinitely. So if I have an FC able to run and able to go, the fleet can undock and start moving and making some miskies. Right now, I'm not running the fleet myself, but I do always run a fleet on Monday and Friday for about 4.5, 5 hours.
So we actually have Shen. Are you sharing your screen of the fleet?
Yep.
Yeah, if Artemis wants to click on that. We actually have a fleet up right now. Sorry, I'm just trying to get a count. There's like, what, 12 Nagas here? Bunch of Marauders.
Yeah, so Nagas are the new bro option. We asked for Nagas to come, and they make a 1x payout. Let me start over. We're hunting Triglavians. We have a public fleet that anybody can join, from both new players all the way up to more veteran players and Marauders. And you show up and you get paid. It's really simple, really easy fleet to participate in. And the idea of the fleet is that we're about 100 kilometers off of where they spawn, and we don't have to take any damage from the NPCs, so we can kind of buffer fit our ships or go full on snipey boy glass cannons, which the Nagas are. The Marauders are a little bit buffer, and we just kind of snipe them from afar. And then there is a salvage crew up on the front there, salvaging all the wrecks that we're making, and all of the income comes from the NPCs actually dying. Then they drop some red loot, some Triglavian surveys, and they salvage for T2 Trig mats. So for building the Ikatursa, Nurgle, and Draugr, and those Zaz mats are the materials that we're making here. That then gets sold to the market, and you get paid for killing them. We have a little kind of streamlined operation, and I have the ability to scale up and deal with more loot if we grow. And the idea behind me trying to come here is to try and invite more people to join us. The Nagas are super cheap to get into, super low skill points. And as you skill up and get better skills, or as you realize that you're making money and having fun in a group, you're going to, you can upgrade in a Marauder. And the Triglavians that we're fighting, how it works is the NPC spawn in system. And when you kill that NPC, you will get another group will spawn in the system, and sometimes they warp to the same planet. And this is what we're seeing happening. We kill the group, and another one spawns and warps to the same planet that we're on. And we just kill them until they go to a different planet and rinse and repeat. There is a cap somewhere. We did hit it before, and last Tuesday got stealth. I don't know whether to call it a nerf or a buff, but more Trig spawn than before. So they're more dangerous than they were previously. Running the solo is a little bit more dangerous. And I do have a guide with the knowledge of these bigger spawns made already for farming the Triglavian solo, which can make a lot more as doing that. But it's more complicated. You're risking a lot more. But the fleet as a whole on base pay makes, I know I've said it time and time again, about 40 million ISK. It's not a lot of ISK to make per hour. But it's really easy to do. It's really easy to participate in, and everybody that's flown it so far has been happy with the income. And you just kind of show up, shoot things, and make a little bit of ISK. It's awesome. Yeah. Questions? Ask away.
So doing this is going to absolutely murder your Trig standings, right?
Yes, it will. The downside to that, at least for a HiSec player, is that you have to run at least a scout whenever you go through Triglavian minor victories. However, when you go into eating com systems with the super negative Trig standings, the eating com will help you if they're on gate.
Okay, so like be forewarned, if you do this on your main and you like to travel around a lot, you might run into a Trig system, and the Trigs won't be very happy with you.
Yeah, so my understanding is they don't naturally spawn on gates, but a trap, it's possible to shoot a war post and get the Trig to spawn with anchoring on the gates. Aside from that, it's pretty rare to actually come into problems in HiSec. And then the other downside is that you can't dock up into Parchment. However, there's a really good way to fix it. You can just go shoot Eating Com and it will work inverse. So you can quickly fix your standings by going and shooting Eating Com. The income's not quite as high, but you can flip back and forth by shooting Eating Com and Triglavians. It's really hard to maintain positive standings with all three when you're doing this kind of activity. But if you get really negative Trig standings, it takes a surprisingly little time to flip to the other side. And you can flip back and forth as much as you'd like.
Yeah, there was just, I think, a question there for clarification from chat. The fleet itself, we have maybe 15 to 20 damage dealers, and we currently have like 3 or 4 salvagers who salvage the wrecks we're generating and then sell the loot for the payout.
So there's 2 salvagers. We found that 2 Noctis, one with 8 tractors and one with 8 salvagers, is the fastest for 2. When we add a third Noctis, the third one has 8 tractors as well, because the one with the 2 salvagers can actually keep up, or the one with all salvagers can keep up with 2 tractors. And then if we need to add more, we'll kind of add in that ratio. But we've never needed more than 2 unless, one of them has a problem and they start falling behind, or when we get a lot of DPS. The amount of DPS we have on grid is less than our average fleet right now, but when we have a lot of DPS, the salvagers start having a hard time. All the loot immediately gets stuffed into a brick fit orca, which is sitting down there with the salvagers, and then it gets put in the station.
One thing that's amazing me is the fact that these trigs are just melting like almost immediately. I have not been locked up or had like one shot fired at me so far.
So they always warp to 0 at the planet or star in a system where they exist. So we have bookmarks set up. I know you don't have access, so you can't see them, but we have bookmarks set up at certain distances from the stars, and depending on how much DPS we have, we warp in at different distances, because the closer we get, the more damage we can do, but the further we are, the more time we have to kill things. And we've done a lot of experimenting on this to figure out like where the right places are for different amounts of DPS. So we're warping at range. Leshaks don't do damage until they get within about 70 kilometers with you, and the cruisers and frigates need to get a lot closer than that. So we're literally kiting them. We're killing them before they get close. So they don't end up doing damage. Therefore, we have no Logi in the group because we simply don't need it. However, all Marauders are advised to fit a remote repper. So if something does get close and the Naga gets in trouble, we can keep it alive.
And so you're running these fleets often enough yourself, and you're trying to get some FCs trained up to kind of keep these fleets going when you're not around. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. I run them Monday and Friday, and we have one new FC that's starting to kind of like pick days, and another FC that was doing it for a while, but he's been away for a minute. So I currently have one solid FC, and the other one should come back anytime. So I actually have 2.
So just real quick, tell me if I was watching this stream right now and I wanted to get involved either as an alpha clone, brand new player looking to make money, or I want to help out, get involved, FC or salvage, or bring my Marauder, what do I have to do? How do I get involved?
You join the HateLess Gaming channel, which is spelled just like my Twitch username, HateLess_gaming. It's an in-game channel. In the MOTD is details on the fits, and then you also want to join the Discord. And then in my Discord channel, we have a fleet pings a lot like Bomber's Bar does, where we put out a message saying, "Hey, we're doing a fleet at this time," and then you respond with an emote based on what role you can fill, so you get an idea of how many people are able to go. And then if we get enough for a full fleet, we will then form up the fleet and head on out from the Trig.
So in game, that would be what? Capital HATE?
It's not case sensitive, so just
okay,
it's HateLess_gaming.
HateLess_gaming. And then can you get us like an invite link to your Discord, and we can drop that in chat as well for people?
Yeah, it's linked in HateLess Gaming, but yes, I can give you a link. Where would you like it?
Just drop it in the Discord channel for anyone watching the show if they want to like get involved. I think it'd be cool. Or give it to us.
Does
We
it-
can publish it in the YouTube notes.
Say I want to come in with my main, but I have a problem. I don't have large railguns to 5, but I have, say, large lasers to 5. Would I be able to come in an Oracle or just something else that is long range?
Right now, I'm using large hybrid turrets, the meta version, so I only have it. The very first fit in the fittings he has on Eve Workbench has a little mini skill plan in the Alpha Clone Naga, and it only requires large energy turrets 3 at a minimum. So I'm using Tech 1 guns right now, and I can hit them no problem.
Yeah. Also, we accept all gun marauders, so 3 of the 4. We don't accept golems for reasons, but the Vargur, Paladin, and Kronos are really solid options for participating in this fleet, and they're the ones that are making the bigger money. They make between 90 and 150 million ISK an hour participating.
So
But no
anything.
oracles.
We'll take oracles. We've got a few fits kind of behind closed doors, not officially published. But you may or may not get full payout depending on your skills and your DPS levels, because we want to keep things fair, as fair as possible. But yeah, you can bring oracles or Tal. You want to bring a Talus? It would be tornadoes. We've had them in fleet before.
So long range, and it's got to be instant damage, and has to obviously shoot out of the required ranges.
Yeah.
No missile ships or drones.
Correct. Well, you can bring a Dominix, then you'll get 0.5 payout if you assign sentries to someone. Yeah. We put 0.5 on that because we don't want somebody to come in with 10 Dominixes and take all the payout.
Yeah. It's a good show.
Well, actually, no. That seems like an interesting idea. Come in with 10 Dominixes, just assign the drones to someone else. Let them do the work.
Yeah. We actually did. I've got 4 of them sitting in the station, and I've actually brought them out and just had them assist the fleet. It's kind of fun.
What do you think is the minimum number of people required in fleet to do this? Because right now, how many do we have in fleet?
We have quite a few, so this is definitely not a minimum fleet. I would say if you have 2 or 3 Nagas with solid skills, you can do it. Our initial test with this composition, when we first realized what we could do, we went and made 5 alpha characters between all of us. There's 5 of us in Discord at the time. We made 5 alpha characters, grabbed 5 Nagas, and tried this with 5 brand new alpha character Nagas, and they did fine. So if you have the equivalent DPS of that, I think the line is right around 2,000, 3,000 DPS is what's required.
So that would also...
You're able to do it with solo Marauder, right? Since the Marauder can put out about 3,000 damage.
So if you solo, you're not going to kill things fast enough before they get on your head, so you're forced to brawl. With solo setups, you need to be able to tank at least 1,800 continued DPS under cap pressure and do enough damage that you can clear stacking NPCs. It's fairly difficult to solo. It's easy at first because when your standings are higher, when you first start doing this, the Trig are gentler to you, and as your standings go down, they get more aggressive. So you can start with a cheaper Kronos or a cheaper Marauder, and then as you grind it more and more, your standings will go down, and then they'll get more aggressive, and then you'll get bigger and bigger spawns, and you'll end up losing your ship if you don't upgrade in line with that.
Well, some people are greedy bastards, and they'll think, well, what if I match the number of DPS myself, and I just do it with myself and my 3 accounts? Or how many Marauders would you minimum do it with to be able to clear it and at least multi-box it alone?
This doesn't get cleared in the general sense because they keep on spawning escalating. So what matters is how quickly we can lock things and how quickly we can do damage and how quickly we can actually kill the NPCs. When you're solo in groups, as you scale up and add more Marauders, you'll pretty linearly increase your income. So this scales to some pretty insane degrees. This single wormhole can support, I want to say 20 to 30 ships, but if you bring only 1 ship, the NPCs will kind of respond in kind. We don't know exactly what the algorithm is or exactly how the spawn size or rate is determined. We just know that more spawn when you kill more. And if you get really efficient with one thing, it gets kind of dangerous. So you need to you need to bring your tank in kind. So if you have 2 Marauders, you may need both of those Marauders may need the same amount of tank. If you have 3, you might need more tank for the Marauders. It's a balancing act. Figure out how much tank you need with the amount of DPS coming in, and it is inconsistent. So there's spikes all the time, and you need to be ready to handle the spikes.
Let's say I've got 5 Marauders for wormhole ratting in the C5. If I warp 5 long-range Marauders to, say, 100 of a planet and just start blasting away, would that meet the critical mass?
2 Chronos is enough to start tanking, or to start going from range. I've done it with 2 quite a few times. You just need 2. Yeah, so 2 Chronos from 120 or so kilometers away from the planet and kill them before they get close enough, and it kind of spawns at about the right rate.
How long have you been doing this?
I started right after Parchment got ripped out. I realized that the Triglavians were spawning on wormholes and they weren't just randomly appearing in HiSec, and we kind of put those dots together, used the Parchment entry manual to kind of start locating the wormholes. And I've been doing it pretty much since Parchment first got ripped out. And we only realized recently that we can do it in small groups with these Nagas recently, before we had much higher requirements for the fleets. So it wasn't really something that I felt needed attention. But the fact that this is something that people can do at fairly low skill points, it's good. But yeah, I've been doing these for a long time. We've been studying the way they spawn and how they interact and change, and how the wormholes spawn and all that for quite a while.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I've actually I kind of didn't believe you when you told me just inject 1 million skill points into a new character, you'll be fine. I kind of thought you were leading me to my doom. And second of all, it's actually fascinating as you were talking about the variance in the waves. I mean, you get some waves spawning in, it's a couple of cruisers, and all of a sudden there's 3 Leshaks on grid, then there's 5 Leshaks. I would certainly want like 2 or 3 Marauders if I was to attempt to solo box this.
Yeah.
And I like that as you do it more and your standings go down, it gets harder. I mean, if you had 2 or 3 Marauders, it could go fine for weeks. And then you might hit the point where your standings get so low, they bring a crazy amount of DPS to kill you. You just got to be on your toes, I guess. Or instead of trying to do it all solo for yourself, join the fleet.
Yeah, and then also dealing with the loot is somewhat of a headache. And if you join the fleets, I deal with the loot for you.
So on the note of looting, so those materials are used to make T2 Triglavian ships, right? So has that affected the market in any way, since this is kind of done at large quantity?
Yes, in parallel with I know Sutonia has been farming in Parchment, but in parallel with the increased farming in Parchment and this happening, and then also other groups are kind of kicking off and doing this as well. I'm not the only one doing this. We've seen the price of Nurgles go from 400 to 240, 270 million ISK an hour, or million ISK per unit. They are dropping fast and they're dropping hard, and we're aware of it. And as it's dropped, because we've been improving, getting more efficient at this, we maintained about the same income even with the drops. So we're just constantly improving to keep up with the decrease in value of the loot. So yeah, it's dropping in price. We're producing more and more, and our initial goal when we started this was to make Nurgles cheap for people running burners. It just kind of evolved into this.
Shen, show me the price of the Ikatursa. At long last, the Ikatursa would be finally below 1 billion a hull. I've been waiting for this for such a long time. You don't know, HateLess. Ikatursas, they used to be so great, and then everything changed.
Well, they've been under 1 bill for a while, haven't they? They were like 800 mil for a bit. They only hit like 1 bill in I guess they were 1 bill for a little bit in June, but they've normally just been like around 800, right?
It's just so sad to see the price of the Ikatursa that expensive. I had to resort to using Vedmax. My suffering.
So at the end of May, beginning of July is when we really started hitting hard on this. And you can see that the prices of Triglavian ships have dropped since we started.
My God, it's recovering. Think it's healing. It's healing. The Ikaterza will finally be affordable and generally usable now.
Yeah, between my solo farming and the fleet farming, this fleet has pulled 120 billion ISK out of this content in the last 30 days.
Sorry, that's 120 billion in the last month?
Yes, is what myself and the fleet as a whole has earned over the last 30 days. That is 20 pilots working together. That's a lot of teamwork and a lot of effort. But yeah, that's what has gone through my character in the last 30 days.
That's not bad for sitting in HiSec, 5 jumps from Jita, shooting rats that like constantly respawn for you. It's even better than level 4 missions because the wrecks aren't all spread out.
The downside is that per pilot, the income is relatively low compared to other things, if that makes sense. But yeah, I got 82 billion paid out in the last 32 days on my character that handles the payouts. And a month ago, we saw similar numbers, so it's just continuing. And if we get more FCs, this number will be higher. And the cool part is it's people earning their keep, not just giving it away.
Yeah, I'm really liking this. I think it was very clever. I think it's like really easy content. Again, I mean, any new person can either borrow a ship or scrape together 100 million for a Naga and then come along and be making kind of decent returns.
Yeah, that's the point. It's super easy, low barrier of entry thing that anybody can participate in. Kind of get off the ground. We're Numero friendly. We help people. That's the idea. I want as many people to be able to go and Omega their accounts as possible. And there's just one way that I'm able to help a little bit.
Are you guys doing this in one location always, or is it's going to switch from time to time?
It's supposed to be roaming, so these wormholes roll and they go into different locations. We've learned how to manipulate that. It's always in the system or next door. We have a special trick that we can do next door. If we ever find the limit of how many NPCs these can spawn, we can double it because we can put 2 wormholes in one system. And then in theory, if we got big enough, we could put 3.
This special trick
takes an endeavor.
Is this a secret?
At the moment, I'm going to keep it classified, yeah. It's something that we haven't actually done yet, but something that I intend to do.
And how about competition and dangers? Has anybody tried to compete against you or like try to start doing this for themselves with fewer accounts?
Oh yeah, there are several people. Like I said, I'm not the only group doing this. I mean, you guys know that there's a ton of Triglavian wormholes that exists. Every single Triglavian, every single system from Triglavian spawns one of these wormholes, or from Pochvin spawns one of these wormholes that goes into random places of space. And if you learn where and how they spawn, you can take the mechanics used to rage roll wormholes to relocate them to positions that you like. It gets complicated when you start trying to get more wormholes into one system, but we have pretty good control of this one. We can keep this one in this system when we want it here.
And what about suicide ganking? Has that been a problem?
In this composition, no. Everything in this fleet is not worth killing, and there's a standing order to just say good fight in local when you get killed, and there's no profit to be made as nothing is worth killing profitably, and as long as we don't give them salt, they kind of leave us alone. The only thing that's really worth killing is the Noctis, and I mean, we have 7 Nagas here, 7-8 Nagas, and if something tries to kill the salvagers, we'll just kill it before they kill the salvager. We haven't had issues with this content, and again, everything's super cheap, and everything that is worth something has a big buffer on it to kind of deter ganking. It's not impossible to happen, but it hasn't happened yet, and all the gankers are aware of what we're doing, as they do stage in this system as well.
Oh, they stage in this system as well, do they?
Yeah, we deal with them all the time. When I fly solo, they like to kill my Noctis. I don't care.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even the Marauders on the Eve workbench fitting, you have like the group of all the fits, right? So you have like your Tech 1, Alpha, Naga, your kind of optimal Tech 2, bit more skills Naga, and then you have like cheap basic Marauders and then kind of like optimal and preferred Marauder fits, right? So there's like 2 different tiers, and like even the optimal preferred Marauder fit is like quite cheap for a Marauder.
Yeah. Yeah, they're super cheap. So the beginner Chronos is like 1.9 billion ISK, and 90% of that cost is in the hull. And then we also run full command bursts so that everything is good. So you got a lot of BHP.
Yeah, and it wouldn't take long to earn back the cost of your okay, maybe not the Marauder, but like certainly your Naga or something. I mean, it's gonna be a quick time to earn that
We've
back.
noticed that the Marauder's ROI is roughly 3 or 4 fleets. So bring a Marauder, on the average day we fly for about 5 hours. I end up paying them 600-700 million ISK.
Yeah, how does that stack up against incursions? Would it take you longer to earn it in an incursion?
Well, the incursions use shinier ships. The income is lower than incursions, but we don't roam, we don't have travel days, and it's a lot easier to fly in this fleet than is incursions. The effort is much lower. I feel like the reward is pretty in line with that. You will make more flying in incursion fleets for sure, but there's more that you have to deal with.
I'm just looking at the amount of wrecks pile up here, and we definitely need to get a couple of more Noctises.
Yeah, our tractor beam Naga or tractor beam guy left, and so I'm trying to tractor while telling you guys all about this. And my push to talk key is the same as my unlock all key, so I'm having a hard time keeping up with salvage.
Oh no. Quick, go into the settings and rebind. Someone asking there, what's the minimum ship requirement for this? The absolute minimum ship requirement for this is a Tech 1 fit Naga. It is like less than 1 million skill points on an alpha character. So if you have either, like, you can start a brand new character account, alpha account, get a referral link, and you can be skilled in to do this in 15 minutes.
Yeah, on top of that, if you spawn Caldari and spawn State War Academy, we are 2 jumps away from your spawn.
Also, if you like intend to do this again, not a bad idea to maybe like roll a new account for it, because you will tank your trig standings and make certain areas of HiSec kind of dangerous to travel through. Fascinating. Thank you so much for like bringing this to our attention and putting in the work and the effort of this whole like content over the last couple of months, figuring it out, and then taking that knowledge and sharing it with the wider community. Really cool.
Bringing people up one pilot at a time.
You have to give a special thank you to like all the people you've managed to drag together for the fleet, like 20 of us or something now. Big thank you to all those guys out there in HateLess's channel, in HateLess Gaming, in his in-game channel and Discord, for either alarm clocking and coming along for this, staying up late for this, or just giving up your time to show off this content. It's really cool.
Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Oh no, thank you. You're doing all the work. We're just showing it off. I'm just clicking F1 and I'm printing money. Sitting here, my alpha character. Anyone else got any questions or comments on this stuff?
Sounds like a cool way to make a lot of money if you're an alpha pilot, right? Like, what do you say, around 80 to 90 million? Is that for a Naga HateLess?
That's for the Marauders. So the Marauders make a bit more. On Friday, the Friday fleet made 40 million ISK base pay. Nagas make 1x base. Tier 2 Nagas make 1.2x base, and Marauders make 2.5x base. So what ends up happening is the base pay, we calculate that and we can multiply by the numbers to see what the incomes are. And bad days are 25 to 30 million. Good days are upwards towards 50 million ISK per hour. It just kind of depends on our luck with if it's a fresh wormhole, if it got set up before, if the wormhole gets collapsed from traffic. Things happen. And there's a lot of variance in the rate the NPCs spawn. We know some days they're kind of lackluster, some days they're more aggressive. And we haven't quite pinned our finger on what the variables are yet.
But still, like, even like upwards of 30 million for just a brand new account that you can make in 5 minutes, as Abbie just did. That's actually pretty decent. Like, that's probably about what you would make, I guess, doing like T3 Abyss in like an Alpha Gila or something.
Yep,
with like
it's
none of the risk.
Yeah, it's right in line on that, and the risk is again extremely low because I do also, on top of all this, on top of the fact that I'm paying you guys, I do take a cut off of all these fleets. I'm going to be 100% transparent. I take a cut because I'm dealing with the loot, I'm dealing with all the stuff, I'm organizing everything. So I take a cut off the top of the fleet, but in return for taking that cut, I offer full SRP for all ships in the fleet as long as they are following the doctrine.
You know what? There's going to be a day where I run out of money given to me by my generous benefactors. I might actually consider this because, yeah, it's very low effort. It's competitive compared to a lot of the other money-making methods. And you know what? If it's a trade, it's a trade-off. If abyssal modules start getting more expensive and the Ikatursa goes down in price, I'll accept that trade any day.
It's also super chill. We just hang out in comms and kind of BS with each other while doing it. And it's just like, you know, any crab fleet, you just kind of hang out and have a good time with each other and have fun. Like it's awesome. We're building a little community around it, and it's growing every day.
I'm going to do a bit of scheming here and propose this. What do you do with the materials that you salvage? You sell it, right?
Yes, I do sell it. Not all of it gets bought. I have a few private buyers that we've brokered deals with, so I have a consistent outgo of loot. Sometimes I stack up additional. My biggest buyer right now can spool up more, so I can handle more loot. I don't really have a limit. And then if I max him out, HiSec BuyBack has offered me a referral program to help out. So the HiSec BuyBack program is my kind of fallback, and the loot can always get moved at some point or another. We try not to give it directly to the market because we want to see it built into ships and then sold as ships, and then we want to sell to private buyers. So that we can have a more IS, because the more IS that the payouts, or the more IS that the loot is worth, the more I can pay out the fleet, the more I make. Everybody makes more if I can sell for higher prices. And then if we can feed the market the ships rather than the materials, the market, the price stickiness of the material stays up a little bit better. And we end up as a whole making more risk. But we're trying not to just tank the market overnight. We're trying to feed into it as demand is filled, and as the price goes down, demand increases. Basic supply and demand stuff. Yeah.
Shen, you produce stuff. How would you like to propose a new Ikatursa doctrine to the Army of Mango's directors? And at the same time, please crash the market for the Ikatursas. Shen here is an industrialist. You know what? How would you like to crash the market, Shen?
Ikatursa as a free doctrine, there are a few problems with it. One is the price. With the same price, I can pull up something much better.
Shen,
what?
No, there's no problems. It's perfect. It's a great idea. Don't be talking about the problems. Let's be pushing Ikatursas. Let's get that price
up. Also, take a look at that spawn.
Yeah, wow. So I just noticed there we were running a site and the Triglavians stopped spawning.
Yeah, so eventually they stop. Like I said, this isn't a site, and we're not really clearing them. They just kind of roam around the system, and when you kill all of them, more spawn in the system, and we don't know if it's a timer or exactly what controls it, but for the most part, they'll continue warping in onto you, and then it's a range. I don't know exactly what it is, but sometimes we end up on grid for 5 minutes, and then we shift to another grid, and we go back and forth, we kind of bounce around. Sometimes we end up on a grid for an hour. And we just don't move, we just sit here and grab shoot them. But they warp to planets in the sun, is where they are. They will never go to a Stargazer station, and it's just kind of the way they behave. They're weird.
Yeah, so I guess we just cleared out that one planet, and then we move on to the next one.
Yep, and the salvagers are behind, trying to clean up the rest of the loot. We had to pull in another salvager for them not keeping up.
Love it. So yeah, thank you so much. This is really cool content. Just to get caught up with a couple of questions. yes, this is like totally alpha friendly. Just less than 1,000,000 skill points. Check out the fits in HateLess's workbench to get an idea. Join his in-game channel HateLess_gaming or his Discord as well to get involved. And yeah, this is like as you guys are just talking about, the kind of payout for like Tech 1 Naga Alpha Fit is pretty much in line with like the tier 3 Abyss payout, right? But instead of needing a 4, 5, 600 million isk Gila that you could lose, this is like a 100 million isk Naga that you probably won't lose, or at least not.
If you lose a Naga, I have like 20 of them sitting in the station ready to hand out to people that lose them. So it's literally an SRP.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
rather than giving you the assist ship, we actually have backup ships in the station ready to hand out.
It's like a little like mini version of incursions or something.
Mm-hmm.
I much prefer content that requires a fleet, and so like like as you were saying, it's kind of like a chill fleet session. You guys just hang out in comms and chill, but it still like needs a group of people, which I really like that content, instead of just doing your own anoms in nullsec while your buddy does his other anoms and you don't actually fly together in a fleet on grid.
Mm-hmm. So this community does have a goal, and its long-term goal is to be able to one, drop the price of Trig loot, and two, we plan on being able to farm World Arcs in the future and do World Arc fleets. We do have a doctrine written up for that, and we just need more people to start showing up, and we'll be able to do the bigger content at the top. And I know Patron's or Sutonia is like, oh boy, competition, but it'll be fun. I feel like the PVX nature of going to Patron would be a lot of fun, and we have. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so
we
with
have fights in Potchman fighting against other PvE groups. So Rogue Capel are really dominant right now in US time zone, but there's also I think like Lucy Lou's group are also in there. There's like Fraternity doing like, Marauder gangs pretty frequently, as well as like Caracal gangs to get up standings in Potchman. I believe there's a group of Goonswarm guys who do like top practices all of the time. They're also pretty fun. There's also I think like an MPSI kind of group that do Lokis a lot. So there's like loads of different groups in Potchman, and
yeah,
a lot of PvP that happens around like contesting them, right? Because there's only 3 observatories, and to get like actual good money in Potchman, well at least like the super high end stuff, you want to be the dominant group at the time, so you can just run all 3 flashpoints. You do one flashpoint, then travel to the next nearest one, etc. Keep doing it like that around the loop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of the goal. Our doctrine is for going into Potchman is actually directly in line with the Nagas because we use Feroxes. Because we're telling people to get in Nagas, so we made a doctrine that if you can fly Naga, you can also fly Ferox, which means that all the people can jump in just as easily, because you train up for the Naga for the tier 1 Naga, you can fly the tier 1 Ferox, participate as well. So the high end, when we go high end, it doesn't exclude all the new players.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm already training for that, so when you open that up. Fantastic. I look forward to being murdered by Sutonia in a couple of weeks' time.
So regarding the price of Triglavian ships, what's your goal to do? You want to pull them back to pre-Potchman, or what's your goal for that?
Say that one more time.
Well, like how low do you think the price should go until you think you achieved your goal? Or is it as low as possible?
I'm gonna keep farming this until they're like worth little, or I doubt that they're going to go down to 0 because when the price goes down, the demand will get up. They'll become more popular. As a cheap Ikatursa would be really fun to fly. Also, there's a certain percentage of this that cannot be removed, and the easy way to or not the easy way, but you get red loot in this, and that is flat rate paid to DD and then paid out ISK.
Brilliant. yeah, again, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone in your channel and in the fleet giving up their time and coming along and showing us on the show today what you've been doing, how you can farm the Triglavians in HiSec, alpha character friendly, really easy. So yeah, guys, give HateLess a big round of applause for that. Really, really cool. The whole team. And if you want to get involved, that's the HateLess_gaming in-game channel or on his Discord. One last thing, actually, I'd like to share with us. I don't know how many people caught this today or this week. Just through a link there in the podcast channel. This is from the World News. There's a new name on the lips of all those with their finger on the pulse of New Eden's tech scene. The Association for Interdisciplinary Research, the latest arrival to join the cluster's existing tableau of technology-driven corporations, has made its first public statement with a series of bold proclamations. Did anyone see this article? No? Just me?
Yeah, I've seen it, but I can't really say much about it because I know something a little more about that that group
right. Okay.
being on the CSM, so I can't really.
So NDA, basically.
But yeah, it is going to be important. I'll say that.
This is law, and
yeah, this is World News.
All I have to say is, where's Arcia? We have to dial in Arcia for an episode soon.
She's in the bloody Alliance tournament, so I think she's practicing today in the next couple of weeks because Electus Matari are in the Alliance tournament. It's an absolute travesty that it happened, but this is really interesting. I mean, I had a quick read of this article. This is like a new corporation kind of spun off from Sisters of Eve, interested in exploration and discovery with new technologies. I mean, who knows where this could lead, but like this is like, surely this is going to be like new stations. If anyone looking at those pictures can tell me, like, are these brand new station models? I'm struggling to remember if I've seen a station like this before in space.
I'm reading down here, CONCORD's derail anti-AI division. Anti-AI?
That sounds like Root Jones, to be honest.
I think that's a new station model. There is a Galanti one that looks kind of similar to that, but that's definitely new.
Yeah, there is a Galendo station model that looks like this that's used in, like, I think DED sites and stuff, but it's kind of like a similar, like, half circle shape. But yeah, so this is a new station model, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it is. The one that it looks like is the one that's in Sisterver, I think. It's the school like the school station model. But that's this. But this is a complete new model. Yeah.
I don't want to get you in trouble for confirming it is a new station model.
There was a bunch of new station models that was actually previewed on, believe it or not, like a CCP art stream maybe a year ago, maybe almost 2 years ago.
So if you look at my screen, there is one that I think the one that you guys were talking about.
Because the new CONCORD station was kind of previewed way back then as well. Because the CONCORD station has been blown up for about 10 years, and they're finally getting around to actually replacing the thing.
Yeah, Shen, that's right. Sorry, I'm looking at your screen. That is kind of, I think, the station I might have been thinking of when I saw this picture. And yeah, General, you're correct. I think Malarol talked about that a couple of months ago on an episode where the station was on fire for like 10 years or something.
Yeah, there's been a couple. There's two in the lore way back when. One that had a Nick supercarrier flown into it, and was basically on fire for almost a year and a half before the fire was finally put out and the station was repaired. But the Elder fleet that blew up, the CONCORD station, way back when, and the CONCORD station has been blown up ever since and has just never been repaired. Amusingly, I found out apparently that the reason the station was never repaired is the original appearance of the station, the files that were relevant to how it actually looked, were lost. So the station had to be completely redesigned and revamped. So apparently that is hopefully due sometime soon.
God, that's terrible. Talk about losing your homework.
Quite literally.
Yeah. But yeah, I just caught this. I think someone posted it in the Discord, and I was checking the world news, and I was just like, "Oh my god!" This, like, the very last line there is, "While it remains to be seen how far AI Or's sphere of influence extends, one thing is certain: the competition in New Eden's corporate sector is about to heat up." Could be very interesting to see what happens there in the lore. I mean, could this be tied into new modules? I don't know. I'm not going to speculate, but I think, as Sutonia hasn't said anything other than he knows something and he's not allowed to talk, it could actually be something very cool. If we're all disappointed, we can blame you anyway, Sutonia.
That's cool with me. I'd rather be in trouble with you than in trouble with CCP.
You're never in trouble with me, bud. All right, I think that's everything we have on today's show, unless anyone has like any last minute topic they want to bring up or.
So I think Quadrant 4 is about to come. I think they said beginning of August, but right now we are almost at the end and we haven't seen it yet. So maybe that'll come next month. So they may just push it back to a month.
Oh yeah, maybe because they didn't start the first quadrant in January, right? They kind of like took January off and they started the quadrant in February. And why is quadrant 4 interesting? Because we're going to look at like the orca balance changes, the mining ship balance changes, things like gas compression, scarcity coming to an end, new capital ratting ANOM. So like there's a lot to look forward to over the next couple of months. So yeah, so thank you so much for tuning in to us today, guys. This has been Talking in Stations. I've been Abbie Rova, your host, with our amazing guests, Sutonia, as always. Big shout out to General Stargazer for coming along and giving us some information on the Alliance tournament and the Summer Games. We hope to have you back soon again to give us an update on how those things are going. Make sure you check in next week for the continuation of the Summer Games on the Eve NT Twitch. Big shout out to HateLess this week and his crew for coming along. 23 people in fleet now doing this Triglavian farming content. Really, really cool. So guys, again, if you're interested, check out HateLess's in-game channel or his Discord. And as always, a thank you to our crew here, Richman, Xiao Zhen, Artemis, and myself. Thank you, and we will pick someone to raid.